In this lesson, I will use a device to send data from a sensor to Laravel, and based on the data sent, Laravel will decide what to do with this data. For example, put it in a database or display it in a view, or maybe trigger other action if certain data come in. First, I define a new sensor model. A sensor belongs to a device, and the device can have several sensors. I use the command php artisan make model sensor -m-c, and I create the controller, the model, and the migration. I go in the models, sensor, and in the database, migration, and I have now the sensors table. Now it's a bit tricky because we don't know exactly what kind of sensor is connected to the device. A sensor can provide different data such pressure, temperature, or other value. So we'll do a bit of dynamic logic here. I will store the data from the sensor in a JSON field. Table, JSON, for example, data. And this sensor has a table, unsigned big integer, device ID. In a Laravel migration, we can use JSON, and this field is strategic for a case where the data structure is not fixed or may vary significantly. This is useful when dealing with inputs from a source or when storing a flexible data format is required. Now I go to the sensor model and I define here the relationship public function device, and return this belongs to device. And now I go to the device, and here public function sensor, and return this has many. I will make here has many. And now, because I work with JSON, I will use protected cast, protected cast, now I go to the sensor controller and I define here a store function, public function store request, and I think I need a device ID. And now request validate data required array and device find device ID, sensor new sensor, Now I go to the routes, but routes I go to the API, and now I can define a route. For example, route post devices device That's what the code looks like in the controller, and that's how the route. Now we can do a test, and I will use Insomnia, or you can use Postman or other program for API request testing. In the Insomnia, I make a post request to this link. API device, you can insert the ID to the device, for example 3 or 6, then sensors, and I send a JSON, for example so, and I send, and I get the response is always okay, and I can check in the database. I go to the database, sensor, and I have here the data. I have already done some tests, and it works fine. Now I switch to CLion, and here we have a classic code for an ESP32 that sends some random data to our API. Here I simulated a sensor, but later we will use real sensors. The code is nothing special. I connect to the wireless and send some JSON to the server. But we have here a problem. I go to serial connection, I connect to the serial monitor, and now I can see the data, or you can use the Arduino IDE. In the serial monitor you can see the random data, sending sensor data, but we have an error on sending post. This error is because the ESP is trying to send data to this address, but cannot find it because it is a virtual address set up in my development environment. Later, when I move to production and put it in the application online, it will work, but for now I need to find the IP address on my network where the ESP is connected. The IP address of my computer is this, and I added the port, and now I just have to put the Laravel server to listen on all network interfaces. This command tells Laravel, builds development server to listen on all network interfaces, not just localhost. Now you can see in the serial monitor that work. We get response code 200, data successfully recorded, and we can check in the database. I go to the database, sensors, and now we have here records from the sensor. Refresh, and it works. This was just a simple example. Of course, we still have a lot of work to do, so in the next lesson we continue.